Learning the notes on the neck is the key to playing by ear. What? Those two things couldn't be more different. Playing by ear is about artistic expression, freedom. Notes are about restriction and musical constructs that feel like a cage. Those two things can't be related, right? Well, they might be. In fact, they really are. Today we're going to talk about why you should absolutely learn the notes on the neck, how it will help your musicality, help you express yourself. We're going to talk about why, if you've tried to learn them in the past, it hasn't stuck. And we're going to talk about some exercises to learn them for the future that will stick, to help us retain them, to help us express ourselves the way we want to on the instrument. My name's Clayton C. Hopkins. Thank you for being here. Let's get started. So let's talk about playing by ear versus playing by notes. One of the things that I've always wanted to be able to do is just play a chord or a progression and hear something that I want to be able to just go play, right? Now, I'm going to tell you a secret right off the bat. If I know what that note is, I'm in a pretty good position to be able to find it and express myself. What happens if I don't? I have to look for it. All right, so I play this, and I start looking. Ooh, that's not it. And eventually I find it. When people say playing by ear, a lot of times this is what they really mean. They're not really hearing something and imagining it and playing it. They're playing something until they bump into the right thing, right? We don't want to do that. We want to know, where's that note? Right? So how do I do that? How does knowing notes help me with it? Well, let's take it from the perspective of I don't know any notes. I've got a chord, and I want to play something over. Well, I got to find that note, right? That's one way. You could also say, well, I got to know my key, and I got to know my scale pattern. So I might say, oh, that's a D minor. So I'm going to look for, a D minor pentatonic. So, okay, here's D. Now, oh, there's that note. So I found my note, right? But all of this was accomplished through, essentially, what was trial and error. I had to play some other notes to get to the one that I wanted, right? What if I just knew what note that was? This is why the notes are important, and this is how we're going to tie them together. Chord tones, arpeggios, music theory, that doesn't represent the notes you have to play. That represents the tangible way to find the notes that you can imagine in your head, right? Let's say I do that note, and I want to imagine a little line to the next chord. So we're going to do D minor to G. Well, do I have to search for every one of the notes one at a time? Yeah. If I don't know what they are, what if I knew what they were? What if I knew that was F, and it was walking down E, D, C, B. And then the next chord is C, and I knew it was do 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 do. That would be pretty cool, and this is what we're going to work towards doing, okay? The first thing to know is that this isn't perfect pitch. I don't have perfect pitch. I have developed, over time, a pretty good sense of relative pitch. Relative pitch is the ability to play a chord and identify notes over it. Well, that's an F. Well, that's a D. Ba-da. I can play another note in the chord, A. I can play the seventh. Following? If you played me that note, I couldn't tell you what it was. But if you play me a chord, and I imagine something over it, I can find it on the neck. Now there's a couple things that really go into this. There's some ear training we'll have to do. There's time and experience of playing the stuff that will undoubtedly be necessary. But the most important thing is that I know where that F is on the guitar. If I don't know where that F is, I can imagine the greatest thing in the world, know what all the notes are, do all the ear training, and I'm still not going to be able to play it because I don't know where it is, right? This is why we want to learn the notes. If I'm playing over a D chord, and I hear that F, da, 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 hear a little line. I know where that is. I go to the G. Excuse my voice for being imperfect. I'm only using it as a way to channel my thoughts into the guitar. You're going to have to do a little bit of this, and we're going to have to let go of the need to have a good voice or anything like that. Your voice cracks, it sounds bad, you can't sing high, you got to sing way low. Whatever it is, it's just an exercise to get us to recognize, what am I imagining? What am I trying to play? And can I play that on the instrument? All right? So that's what our goal is. Our goal is to be able to hear something and find it on the neck, and we need to know the notes on the neck in order to do so. All right? So first, how do we learn the notes? The reason you haven't been able to learn the notes is because your brain is an efficiency machine, and it has realized that the notes are not the easiest way to accomplish the goal. Now, it's a very important distinction because we have to recognize that we're not out to just play the notes, right? The easiest way to play the notes in a C major scale is to look up a shape and then place the fingers at the shape. But that's not our only goal here. Our goal is to learn the notes and retain them and be able to use them, right? And as much as the shape gets us to the end goal of playing the scale quickly, it doesn't help us learn the notes. And why? Is because as soon as we wrap our brain around the shape, we can forget about all the notes. And so we do. Our brain doesn't need to latch into that. It's like, remember if you were in school and you studied for a test, but you studied to pass the test. You didn't study to learn the material, really. How much of the material do you remember now? How much did you retain a week after the test? Probably not a lot, because we weren't trying to learn the material. We were trying to pass the test. Playing a scale from a shape is like passing a test. As soon as the test is over, it goes out the window. As soon as I change the key, I forget the shape. As soon as I put the guitar down and I come back the next time, I'm going to have to make a couple mistakes to find the scale again. Right? If I go by notes, I'm going to retain it. Now here's the trick. We have to make our brain want to learn the notes. And the way that you do this is you change the key. Let me explain why. As soon as you play that shape the first time, you forget about the notes. But what if you change the key? The key change would be a different shape. If I wanted to play the key of C, and then the key of G immediately after, well, there's no shape that encompasses two different keys, one after the other. What if I wanted to play 3 keys in a row? What if I wanted to play C, and then down the key of G, and then up the key of F? That seems like a pretty formidable challenge, and it is. It's not super easy, but this is how we're going to do it. You see, if we change the key, and if we change the shape, what our brain realizes is that the shape isn't the easiest way to do it. And so it's going to latch on to the easiest way to do it. The brain's going to say, oh, what's the best thing I can grab on here to do this? And guess what? Now it's the notes. Now, the notes, the thing that we've always struggled to understand the reasoning behind, is the only way to get through the challenge. How do you play 3 keys in a row in the same position? If you had 30 seconds to prepare, what would you do? You'd say, oh, God, well, C is all natural. Okay, so I'll play the natural notes. And then G has an F sharp. You might not know this. We'll go over this. And then F has a B flat. It's like, okay, it might take me a year just to go one by one, but I'll be able to play this without making a mistake. Because I'm going to think, okay, key of G, F sharp. All right, I made it through that challenge, right? So how do we know where the F sharp is? How do we know any of that? This is our exercise, okay? Here's our goal. Everything has a big picture, which is we're trying to learn the notes, but in order to take a small step forward and make progress, you have to have a small picture goal. You have to have something you're working towards, something that you can accomplish today. And here is that thing. We're going to play the keys of C, G, and F in the open position. This is our exercise, and this is how we're going to retain the notes. The key of C is all natural notes, which means no sharps, no flats. we need to know two things to accomplish this in open position. We need to know that between every note is a whole step or 2 frets, except for E to F and B to C. This is very important. It's how we're going to find the notes. The second thing we need to know is what the names of the open strings are. If I don't know that this is an E, I certainly won't be able to figure out what the next note is. If I think this is some other note, I'm going to be steering myself wrong, right? Again, the PDF is going to have all of this information, your practice guide, everything you need, all right? But let's do it together. This is an E string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the natural notes on the E string until I get to a note that could be played as the next open string, okay? So E is going to go to F. It's the next letter in the alphabet. Now what I need to know is that E to F is a half step, which means this is 1 fret. So I'll go to the next note. The next note in the musical alphabet is G. F is going to go to G. And that's a whole step. Now here's where the open position gets important. G goes to A. That's the next note in the musical alphabet. It only goes up to G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But we don't move up the same 6th string because the open 5th string is an A. So now I'm on the 5th string. I went E, half step to F, whole step to G, whole step to A, but I played it on the 5th string. Now we're going to continue up. A is going to go a whole step to B, 2 frets. B is going to half step to C, B to C, half step. C is going to go a whole step to D, but we're going to play that on the open string. Following me? D, whole step to E, half step to F, G is the next open string. Whole step to A, B is the next open string. Right? Half step to C. If we're going a little fast, you can always replay this. C, whole step to D. We're almost there. D, whole step to E, but E is the open string. So now we're at the highest, thinnest string. E, half step to F, whole step to G. We are going to call that our open position, from the open strings to the 3rd fret. This is your number 1 goal. Play the natural notes, which is the key of C, from E to G without thinking about shape. E, half step to F, whole step to G. A, whole step away from G on the 5th string. B, whole step away. C, half step away. This is how I want you to think, okay? It might feel slow and painful and torturous, but this is how we're going to be able to retain the material, okay? Now, as soon as you get a modicum of speed through this, here's the problem. I start thinking 013, 023, 023. We all do it, right? That's a problem. And that's a problem because I've stopped thinking about notes. So how do we think about notes? We change the key. The key of G is the next key we're going to play, and it has an F sharp. So an F sharp, or any note that's been sharped, is 1 half step above where it would otherwise be played. So when I start on E, I'm not going to go to F, I'm going to go 1 up from F. That's F sharp. Everything else is the same. F sharp goes to G. Now by this point, you might start to know that G is at the 3rd fret. And that's what's cool, is you start to recognize notes, right? You're going to say, oh, E and G, so I got F, and I got F sharp. This will happen over time, but it's how we're really going to retain the material. Okay, so let's play the key of G. E, F sharp instead of F, so whole step. G is where we left it. A is where we left it. B is where we left it. C is where we left it. D is where we left it. E is where we left it. F sharp. F sharp. So why is this important? Why are we changing the key? That one difference keeps us on our toes enough that we cannot rely on a shape. I have to navigate my way through it. As soon as I'm thinking, all right, I'm good. G, A, B, C, D, O, E, F sharp. That's different. By changing the key, we are forced to change the shape, which means we can't just think about shape. which means the easiest way to do it is to think about notes. That's absolutely key. That's key. That's absolutely key. We need to be thinking about notes, and we need to convince our brain that notes are the way to go. Let's keep going. F sharp goes to G, where we left it, A, where we left it, B, where we left it, C, where we left it, D, where we left it, E, where we left it, F, not F, F sharp. And we're back to G. So here's the goal. Once you get that general idea down, play your scale, play your notes. Do not do it more than once. As soon as I do it twice, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I have imprinted that pattern in my brain, and I'm thinking, oh, 1, 3, oh, 2, 3, oh, 2, 3, oh, 2. No. As soon as you do the key of C, change. Key of G. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. It's going to keep you on your toes. And that's exactly what we want. The key of F, as I mentioned before, is one we're going to do. It has a B flat instead of a B. All the notes are natural except for B flat instead of B. Let's play the key of F. E, half step to F, right where we left it. Whole step to G, right where we left it. A is on the 5th string. Ooh, here we go. Half step to B flat rather than a whole step to B. A flat is when one note is 1 fret lower than it otherwise would be. E, F, G, A, B becomes E, F, G, A, B flat. With me? Let's keep going. C is now a whole step from B flat, but it's also right where we left it. We know C now. D, E, F, G, A, B flat. We can't flat the open string, so we have to play the B flat here. And now there is no B, so we go right to C. D, E, F, G. Whew. If this feels like a lot of work, and even a step backwards, stick with it for a little while. Learning the notes is going to be extraordinarily helpful for what you want to accomplish, but it does feel like a step backwards, especially if we're used to playing all over, or we've transcribed solos, we've learned rock licks and stuff like that. Trust me, this is going to be invaluable as you go forward. So here's your first challenge. Do each of the keys. Just do them one time. Might take you 15 minutes for each one. That's a lot of work. Take a break. Your second challenge is to be able to play them all back to back. And here's how you do this. Your brain recognizes, oh, what I need to know to accomplish that goal is the notes. Key of C is natural. G has an F sharp. F has a B flat. Let's do it together. Here's the key of C. E goes to F. F goes to G. G goes to A. A goes to B. B goes to C. C goes to D. D goes to E. E goes to F. G goes to F goes to G. G goes to A. A goes to B. To C. To D. To E. To F. To G. There is our key of C. Now immediately, key of G. So I got to switch the F for the F sharp. That's going to keep me on my toes, which is going to keep me thinking about notes. E goes to F sharp, goes to G, goes to A, goes to B, goes to C, goes to D, goes to E, goes to F sharp. Keep me on my toes. G, A, B, C, D, E, F. What just happened there? Hold on. So this doesn't prevent me from making mistakes. But here's the difference. The mistake I made was that I played an F instead of an F sharp in the key of G. That is a fixable mistake. The closer I get to the key of G, the more ready I will be to recognize that I need an F sharp, and I'll play an F sharp instead of an F. The problem with playing by ear, or playing by shape, is that when I made that mistake in the past, all I said was, oh, that was the wrong note, I won't do it again. But think about this. I played the note I intended to play, and that turned out to be the wrong note. Whew. Whew! When I realized this for the first time, that was a huge blow. It's not that I made a mistake and I hit the wrong note. I played exactly what I intended to play, and what I intended to play was wrong. Huge, huge realization, because I realized that the only way I will ever fix that note is by hearing it come out wrong and then playing the right one. I am never going to be able to play where I just play the right notes because I always think I'm going to play the right one and then they turn out to be wrong. If that's you, trust me, I was there. This is going to help. I need to know from the beginning that this is the right note. I need to know that I'm going to play the right note. And the way that I know that is that it's F sharp. Every mistake I make is fixable. Oops, I played an F in the key of G. I can fix that. I work on my keys. I work on, okay, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. There we are. I can't fix a note that doesn't come out wrong until it's come out wrong. That's really important to grasp. Let's do the key of F, B flat. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G. If you can do this one after the other, ask yourselves, how many times have I played 3 different keys in one position without making a mistake? Even if it took me what felt like a really long time. When I ask my students this, usually they say never. It just never happened, right? But we can do this if we think about notes. And the mistakes we make are just little confusions. Oh, I played an F instead of an F sharp. I knew I was supposed to play an F sharp. I just played an F. As opposed to, I hit the wrong note, but I didn't know it was going to be wrong until I heard it. That's a problem we can't fix. So this is our exercise. It's very simple, but it's going to take a lot of time and effort. Play these 3 different keys in open position, C, G, and F. Learn your natural notes, and when you're playing the other keys, G and F, watch out for that F sharp in the key of G and B flat in the key of F. If you can do that, if you can play all 3 in a row, or maybe play them in a different order, you're basically demonstrating to yourself that you're not playing by shape. You're playing by notes. As a caveat, I would highly recommend saying the notes out loud as I have done. It really helps keep you honest about what you're doing, keeps you on track to really learn. All right, so how do I take these ideas and apply them to make real music? We're going to play a solo, but we're just going to play notes. We're not going to think about scales, and we're not going to think about patterns. All right? So we need to have a little bit more information, which is what are the notes in the chord? That gives us a good starting point of what notes are going to work over the chords. Again, the PDF is going to have all this information. Here's the first chord, a D minor or D minor 7, and we're going to play C. That's a note in the D minor 7 chord. Then over the G chord, we're going to play a D. That's a note in the G or the G7 chord. And then over C, the last chord of our progression, we're going to play E, which is a note in the C chord, the C major 7 chord. And it's going to sound like this. And notice that without scales or shapes, it's pretty basic solo, but it sounds like music. Got one note, sounds like that. That goes here, and then. That's pretty nice, actually. I don't need you to play the whole chord voicing, all right? There's a backing track that's going to be linked. I want you to play one note over each chord. That's our solo. That's it. And I want you to listen to how musical that is. Now, when you get bored of that, which you undoubtedly will, we're going to play a different note in the first chord. Maybe the F over the D minor, to the G over the G, and then we'll stick with that G over the C chord. We're going to write one note over each chord solos, but they're going to be musical. They're going to feel like they move with the chords. And we're going to play them without pattern, without scale. We're going to transcend pattern and scale from the very start. All right? So these two one-note solos are going to be tabbed out as if you really need them. I'm sure you could play them without the tab, but they'll be tabbed out. And here's my challenge to you. At the end of your scale work, working on your scales, saying the notes, I want you to see if you can pick notes from the chords and string them together yourself. Maybe start on the A in the D minor, do a little rundown the key of C to the D over the G, and then try to end on a note in C. Maybe come back up to the C. So your solo would be maybe it's simple, but it's musical, and it's created without thinking of shape or pattern, purely thinking about notes. All right? The very last stretch is to be able to imagine a note and figure out which that is. That's going to take some work. We're going to do some ear training in the future, but this is going to get you started down the right path. All right, so all of our materials are linked below, but here's a quick review. Playing by ear is knowing the notes. I could imagine all the coolest stuff in the world, but if I don't know where it is on the instrument, I'm out of luck. The reason you may not have been able to learn the notes in the past is because the shape is just easier. And like our brain trying to pass a test, it thrives off things that are easy. If we want to learn the notes rather than just accomplish the goal of playing the scale, we have to have a different exercise. Our exercise is playing three, not one, but three different keys, all in open position. Key of C, which is all natural notes, key of F, which has a B flat, and the key of G, which has an F sharp. Do not play any one of these keys twice before moving on. Move on immediately, so your brain does not have a chance to even register the shape. You only have a chance to register the note. And finally, play your one note per chord solos over our D minor G7 C backing track using natural notes on the neck. We didn't even talk about scale or key or mode or position or pattern. How crazy is that? And yet we can assemble some sort of musical solo. That's what we're going for. We're going to play music using notes rather than scales and shapes and patterns. Thank you for joining me here on Patreon. I appreciate your time and energy that you're spending with me. Let me know below what you'd like to see. I will do my best to bring it to you. Happy playing, and I'll see you next time.